Yeah, America. I know it's Lex. This Diddy situation just doesn't stop. Thought I told you this Diddy situation don't stop. Shout out to Inner City Press. They had frontline coverage of this wild Diddy freak off fiasco that just doesn't stop. Well, today more information came out and we're gonna get into this. Inner City Press says that around 3:30 today, 2 U.S. Marshals were seated behind Diddy as he sat at his defense table. The judge pulls up, the attorneys pull up. AUSA Emily Johnson says the freak-offs were elaborate. Oh my God. Now y'all check this out. One thing that's so wild about this, and I think is slightly embarrassing, is the use of freak-offs. Like, these people are lawyers, they're judges, attorneys, and they're literally just dropping the word freak off in their regular linguistic use. It's kind of embarrassing, deadass, I'm not gonna lie. So AUSA Emily Johnson, the very first thing she says, the freak-offs were elaborate. They began in 2009 and extended into this year. They were arranged with his entourage, and the defendant used narcotics so that the victims would continue. He used ketamine, GHB, and others. And this is what we were saying yesterday about some of these drugs that Diddy is using. Where the did you get that from, sir? How did you get access to these drugs, dude? Diddy is on some other issue, you know what I mean? AUSA then says that the defendant would record these freak-offs, FOFO, at least in part to use them to blackmail. They have an email. A victim says, quote, "You were going to make her," and then she said that she's not going to say it on the public record, or you were going to leak some FO-ish. They're saying that they have a victim there. They showed an example of blackmail. What would be considered blackmail in the court of law, excuse me. AUSA then says a different victim wrote, he said he was going to expose her with a sex tape and was drugged. Then she says that's 2 examples. It's so rich when the defendant submission filed today accuses the victim of extorting. He's the only extorter. If the AUSA says a different victim wrote, he said he was going to expose her or him with a sex tape. The AUSA says we seized guns. They were in the defendant's home and he had access to them. We are focused on the defaced guns in the defendant's closet. This is not about security but dangerousness. The security team is the same one he says will monitor them. The head of the security has now been served with a subpoena, given what we've learned about his role in the offensive conduct. Now about the hotel assault, yesterday defense counsel called it a fight in a relationship, but it's that T word. That right there is a bombshell part of this, because when they say that the head of the security has been served with a subpoena, that could be, whoa, the head of security, that they could use those kinds of things to bring up more credence to that to the RICO. If they wanted to get a RICO, and then imagine they pull in the head of security, and if they find one thing wrong with him, then they're like, whoa, if the head of security was giving orders, they gonna get on his ass as well. And let me know if I'm wildin'. But they could use that and open up the RICO thing. The AUSA then says the defendant had a FO on March 5th, 2016. They have evidence there was one commercial S worker there in the room during the assault. She isn't even wearing what? She isn't even wearing shoes. She is in danger. Defendant storms out in a towel. And we know that that's probably from that Cassie situation. So whoa. They're alleging that when Diddy stormed out, a wild Diddy was running down the hotel hallway. Are they insinuating that was fresh out the FO? He was like, hold up, we gotta chill with the FO. And Cassie is dipping out of there. Is that what they're talking about? We have a message from the victim. The victim says that they still have crazy bruising. He claims he wanted to get his clothes back, but that's not what happened to her. She tried to escape a room with the defendant and a commercial S worker. She fled without shoes. She's saying that during the FO, she was trying to leave the FO, And there was a commercial S worker in that hotel surveillance footage that everybody saw. Immediately after the assault, the defendant sent those messages. Call me, the cops are here. I got 6 kids. Yo, please call. He's surrounded. You gonna abandon me all alone? The defendant knew he had done something that could elicit police response. The AUSA then says he covered up what he did. This year, after the surveillance video came out, only then did he admit that it was him. Yesterday, it was claimed that his clothes were taken, but that's not what happened. Why drag the victim back down the hall to the room? The AUSA is wilding right now. The footage that everybody's seen that was leaked by CNN of Diddy storming down the hotel hallway, she's breaking that down and going in on it. The AUSA then says the indisputable evidence makes clear you cannot take the defendant at his word. March 5th, 2016 is far from the defendant's lone act of violence and obstruction. Freak-off activity is the core of this case. They use force, coercion, and drugs. Freak-offs, as what she's saying, is at the center of it. Now, I heard whack and academics mention certain aspects of that where the FOs are not illegal. If the consenting parties are that, then by all means, dude, it's weird, but it's not illegal. But afterwards, using that to maintain control, direct careers, influence action, blackmail, as they said, coercion, now that might be the illegal part. Alright, so that there's all multiple sides to this. We know that the music industry is a freaky place. We all just keeping it a bean. The AUSA then says the investigation is ongoing. Half a dozen escorts is just the tip of the iceberg of the number of escorts who participated in the FOs. The case is charged as trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. The acts were not consensual. Whoa, that's absolutely wild right there. So the defense is arguing that anyone in a FO wanted to be there. That's not the law. When people are threatened with exposure and are beaten, they cannot consent. That is that T word. Victims' heads were slammed against. Whoa. Now that's wild. Now check this out, y'all. Remember when Diddy gave Cassie the 30 M's? They came out and said that the allegations were lies. None of it was true. And then here they are. The defense is arguing that anyone in a FO wanted to be in there. 100%. The FOs was happening. The FOs was going down. Now, AUSA pulls back. It says, here are some text. Then the text reads, when you get effed up, you knock them around. Not a ragdoll, someone's child. That's wild. Then it says, we have witnesses who witnessed the injuries. This conduct happened behind closed doors in houses, hotel rooms, and cars. Judge Tarnofsky was concerned. Now this is when this starts kind of giving you some insight and glimpses into the judge's mindset. Judge Tarnofsky found that she did not believe defense counsel can control the defendant. Consider the Mercedes case in this circuit. Reversing a decision to release a defendant, let's turn to obstruction. Witnesses have expressed extreme fear of him. They have directly contacted a victim in November 2023. Constant contact with witnesses after the charged conduct after subpoena before government interviews. Two of these examples are, there are communication between the defendant and a witness. 13 contacts. Judge Carter then says, 13 contacts with 2 people? AUSA says, sorry, 14 contacts between the defendant and the witness. Also, he outreached to a witness he had not been in contact with for several years after the grand jury subpoena. He used intermediaries. This is when they really kind of start painting Diddy and mentioning, look, they don't think he can control the defense. They're saying that the intermediaries, these people in between Diddy and, I don't know if it's Cassie in this case, and even some of those other allegations like that lady that came out about the nightclub situation, I could be reaching, but even that woman, you don't know if somebody could have reached out to her. Y'all get what we saying? Because Diddy's trail runs deep. These is about 30, 25 years of, even with some of the crazier situations in this case. Biggie, Tupac, they're not even mentioning that. A matter of fact, I don't even know if they mentioned it, but we ain't see it yet. When they say 13 contacts with 2 people, the AUSA said sorry, 14 contacts between the defendant and the witness. He has outreach to a witness he had not been in contact with for several years. When they're saying he used intermediaries, they're like, look, Diddy can't be stopped. AUSA says he recorded a conversation on another person's device. In November 2023, he twice called the victim. On November 19th, he received a text from this other person. In response, it reads, they feel like they're reading their own sexual trauma. See, y'all, like, this stuff is very wacky, all right? Then they said 3 pages, my experience. The defendant called her and gaslit her, trying to convince her it has been consensual. He repeatedly said he was not supposed to be speaking on the phone. He tells the witness not to text him. The defendant said of support, nothing to worry about. Money. The defendant wrote his financial advisor should not make a mistake and not get that rent paid. That was obstruction. Then they cited U.S. versus LaFontaine, a defendant who fed a false narrative. Wow. Yeah, they're really painting Diddy to be this covert monster that you can't let out on the outside. If they have proof of people feeling blackmailed and coerced when they are saying things like they felt as if they was drugged, it brings up those accusations of what was going on at some of the parties, maybe some of the liquor, just the element of drugs surrounding Diddy. Now people is like, yo, was Diddy a junkie billionaire? Was this dude a junkie and a billionaire living a double life? And honestly, if Diddy was a drugged up junkie and he managed to touch $1 billion and reach the pinnacle of notoriety and pop culture and reaching the summit of that, that's kind of crazy, dog. Like, dang, this dude was really, you could be a junkie and a billionaire. Now, AUSA says, I'll go over the case. Judge Carter says that's not necessary. I'm familiar with those cases. AUSA, a recent civil suit. Last week, Dawn Richard filed a civil suit. She was in a band also with Miss Harper. Miss Harper issued a statement after 128 phone contacts. Bumbleclot Diddy. Diddy was reaching out, tweaking out, geeking out after the freaking out. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Let's get more into this. AUSA says we didn't deal with Lawrence Ray's case. Magistrate Judge Fox ordered detention even on one victim, but the judge found that corroborated by documentary evidence. And now, this is where they start, I guess they cited another case here. AUSA says traveling to New York does not address danger to the community. I'm here seeking detention, but I note that the bail package does not have enough conditions that focus on obstruction, and it couldn't. He's been involving other people. The defendant should be detained pending trial. Then the judge says defense, and this is where Diddy's lawyer pops in. Now, y'all, that AUSA is an animal, because she went in on the bail package and then she mentions that, and it couldn't. He's been involving other people. They're really trying to go for that enterprise RICO thing, even with saying the head of security might need to get subpoenaed. That is dangerous. As soon as you start dealing with that, the head of security, well then what does that mean for some of the underlings? Yeah, I get what we're saying here. It just leads to them really going after that whole enterprise aspect, man. Like, yeah, this situation is wild, alright? But let's continue. Then AUSA says the defendant, Combs' lawyer, Marc Agnifilo. So now he's at the podium and he's speaking America. Let me start with Miss Harper. He was called by her and the lawyer. He says, do what you want, make a statement or not. I later found out that she did. And that's wild right there, man. Combs' second lawyer, Tenny Garrigo, says Miss Harper felt she was being besmirched. We did speak with her at 2 a.m. on the 11th. The judge says after speaking, what would be the reason for Mr. Combs to continue contacting her? Garrigo says she was concerned. She was in the media. Agnifilo then says, I have brought today head of Sage Intelligence. We are proposing that Sage Intelligence personnel, all former law enforcement, will be monitoring the residence of Mr. Combs 24/7. They will have 1 or 2 employees there at all times. So Agnifilo came out straight for that, getting Diddy a bail package. That was his main goal there today. keeping his client out of cuffs. And then he proposes this security company, Sage Intelligence, and this sound like some different security, cyber security, all types of security to make sure that Diddy don't go nowhere. He says he'll have the monitoring the residence 24/7. That's wild. Then Diddy says there will be a visitor log. Only pre-approved could come in. We could give the list to the court. Mr. Combs will not have a cell phone or access to the internet. Diddy detained with no Wi-Fi. Can't go on the gram and check out the thotties. Dang, Diddy. What was Diddy going to be doing with no Wi-Fi? There will be a visitor log. Only pre-approved could come in. They'll give a cell list to the court. Mr. Combs will not have a cell phone or access to the internet. No, that way, no witness intimidation, completely nullified. Having Sage Intelligence on site will do what we have to do. Even 3 there. If you don't believe that Mr. Combs' actions in coming to New York are only about risk of flight. It seemed like there was a mistype there. But then they say it shows he is deeply respectful of the court's authority. He is responsible. Mr. Combs knew he was under investigation and gave us his passport. This is not defense lawyer theater. We took the passports of 5 of his family members. We have a letter of intent to sell his airplane. We had 3 buyers who didn't work out. These dudes is doing everything they can to make Diddy look like a pristine, obedient citizen. They even said, look, even his family members gave up the passports, y'all. Don't think Diddy's trying to run away and get away on a family trip. But nah, he would there. That's really wild. If they really denied his bail after that, he just looks extra crazy, like low key on his knees to the courts. Y'all feel what we saying? Like, you would think that the judge would be like, hey, that's a good Diddy gesture right there. That's a good bad boy. Good boy, nah. They on his ass. They like, nah, we gonna see. The judge then says, can you get to the point? So you see that the judge is like, all right, enough with kiss ass trying to keep your client out. Just get to it. Then Diddy's lawyer comes back and says it shows he's trustworthy. He's not a defendant who says, come find me. And Maxwell and Epstein, whoa. The judge cuts him off and says, how does that relate to danger and obstruction? If he was aware in April, why was he contacting witnesses? So Diddy knew that this trial was coming allegedly since about February or March, right around the time of that raid. But April, the raid happened late March. And in April, they're like, nah, he probably knew right a week after that. This is crazy because his lawyers brings up Maxwell and Epstein. And the judge is like, wait, why are you talking about that? Agnifilo says a woman contacted him. She said she'd gotten a subpoena. We told him don't speak to her. And see, this is important because you don't know which girl he's talking about. A few of the ladies got subpoenas. He could be talking about Daphne Joy. If it was Cassie, then they would have probably said the victim. So I don't know, that could be Daphne Joy. I know that sounds crazy, but who else could it be? Then the judge says, talk to me about danger. Agnifilo says people who are a danger are people who are contemptuous of the court. But Mr. Combs has never been contemptuous of the court. He had cases in New York in 99. He came to court every time. He shows up on time. The judge says, under your plan, will he have employees? Agnifilo says they handle his finances. They are in California. Then the judge says, would he be able to leave his residence? The attorney says no. And the judge says, and the security, they could be there in the house? Agnifilo says, yes, in shifts. We could put cameras filming 24 hours a day. They could do spot checks. He doesn't use the internet. We can make it as secure as we need to make it. There's already cameras there. Wow. So, this is super duper kissing ass. Bad boy turned a good boy. They said Diddy, no Wi-Fi. They even going to take that SIM card out that fucking phone. America, they going to delete Safari. They're going to delete Google. Duck, go nowhere. Agnifilo then says, the judge says that video is troubling. He was 40-something years old. Agnifilo says he realized he has a problem with drug addiction and anger. Diddy is really, really a junkie. Then he says he went into a rehab program for a period of time. The woman in the video also went into rehab around the same time. They loved each other. The written messages are heartbreaking. The sex and the violence were totally separate, motivated by separate things. The way they chose to be intimate, they would bring a third person on. They chose that. Freak off confirmed. Diddy, that's it right there. 20, 30 years, people always been saying it. And notice that the judge said they would bring, the attorney said they would bring a third person on. He didn't say a woman. He didn't, he's not painting that picture all the way. But, and once again, there's nothing wrong with that. But in the case of hip hop, promoting that image and doing what you do, it's like all those rumors have always been there. So I don't even think a lot of people are surprised at that. But it's more so after he gave that 30 mil, the attorney at the time said that none of that happened and they still paid the bread. So yeah, Diddy was FO and FO. The judge says, what does that have to do with him hitting her, throwing a vase at her? What's love got to do with that? Agnifilo says that was jealousy from infidelity in both directions. Mr. Combs and this other person, the violence is from that. The judge says, what's your point? And you say they invited a third person in. If that person is a commercial S worker and they travel across state lines, isn't that a problem? Agnifilo says, I've spoken with the agency. They say they are not paid for S. But if they feel like it, the judge immediately was like, the transportation stuff is what's going on with that. And the Agnifilo says that, wait, they spoke to there's commercial S agencies that just let S workers do like visitation trips. Like, how does that work? So Agnifilo says the former government of New York, he did this and he was not prosecuted. They are prosecuting Mr. Combs for it. The judge says, let's get back to that video in the physical. Why isn't that relevant to dangerousness? Agnifilo says it's not S trafficking. Agnifilo, when he said the former governor or government of New York, man, there's been a few of these politicians, law people, and officials that have been brought up in some very weird, erroneous cases, and a few of them have gotten convicted. He could be speaking about a few people right there, to be honest with y'all. And make sure y'all subscribe because we breaking this whole thing down. Agnifilo then says, even if you don't trust him, trust the bond package. 50 million bond, no internet, Sage. Then they're talking about the security agency that will give the court comfort that he's not a flight risk, that he can prepare for his trial. We had known this was coming. He could have run in March. He was an actual altar boy. The judge says, man, stop with that altar boy thing, man. Mute up. How far back are you going? Agnifilo says he watches a sermon every day. He has done a great deal to earn the court's trust. I ask you to release him. The judge says, I've heard from the parties. I find that government have proven the defendant is a danger. Regarding the bail package, it is insufficient even on risk of flight. Sean Combs will remain detained. Bumbleclot America. No bail for Diddy. Him not leave the can. The judge says, so let's do the initial conference. The AUSA says the discovery will include photographs of physical evidence from the March searches and from this week, including FOFO supplies. There are a large number of electronic devices. The AUSA says we have 35 full extractions ready to produce to the defense. We'd request a status conference in approximately 90 days. Agnifilo says given that he'll be in the SHU and the MDC, can't for now consent to any exclusion under the Speedy Trial Act. The judge says I can set a trial date if you want. If I can't try it, I can find a colleague who can. Agnifilo says, let me speak with the government. And then he speaks to the four USAs. And Garagos is talking to Diddy. Agnifilo says, how about a conference in 14 to 20 days? So it looks like right here, they're trying to really speed this up. It looked like the Agnifilo Diddy, they want to do this thing super duper quick. And I think that's also interesting. Like, yo, let's just hurry up. Let's get it over with. We ain't trying to drag it out. Let's run it. And that's an interesting take to go on the offense as the defense. The judge says, what's your position on speedy trial? Agnifilo says, I'm not prepared to waive it. The judge says, first, the date, October 9th at 2 p.m. AUSA then says, we move to exclude time under the Speedy Trial Act. Agnifilo says, I can't consent. I'll know on October 9th. The judge says, I exclude time to them. We received some phone calls today from people who say they have evidence for this case. We referred them to the U.S. Attorney's Office. What about the local rule? AUSA says we wanted to flag defense counsel's comments about the victim. We are not requesting action. And then Agnifilo says it would be better if he's put in Essex County than in the MDC. The AUSA says that designation authority is extremely given to the BOP. I don't know there is anything the court can do to put its thumb on the scale. So this situation towards the end of this, the lawyer Mr. Agnifilo, he's trying to hurry up and get this thing going and get it in motion. And then he starts saying, yeah, let's see if we could get him in Essex. It seems like they're trying to be mindful of the correction facility that they get him in. But what's wild is the judge says we received some calls today from people who say they have evidence for this case. So maybe that could be why the lawyer Agnifilo is trying to speed it up. He's like, yo, let's just get this out the way, man. Some people could be weird. Some people could try to make up lies. Some people could try to flip and lie on Diddy, whatever. Let's just hurry up and get it going. Saying that they have more evidence from people, that's absolutely insane. And that's wild because evidence from what? From the FOs? Diddy has been accused of a lot of things the past several years. It more so looks like the judge is focused on the trafficking, the illegal transportation across state lines, the abusive aspects. They're really just trying to paint Diddy like a mogul monster, right? I don't know if that's a thing, like a mogul / monster, this illustrious, notorious freak-off figure. Within that, his image and how he looks, they're trying to break that down and say, yo, nah, this guy's a flight risk. It looks as if the next time that they'll speak about it is October 9th, or the judge also said, get me a joint letter on this by Monday, September 23rd. This situation, Diddy is in there. He's going to be in there for a little minute. It looks like Diddy going to be in there for about the next 2 weeks, unless they get an appeal or something, or September 23rd. That's what, 4 days. Today's the 19th, so they got 4 days to get that letter. And that could be the letter removing him. But it looks like the next breakthrough in this thing was going to be in about 2-3 weeks. So y'all, Diddy, as we know it, some people, they could be making calls. We sure Cassie might be the superstar witness. And don't forget Dawn Richards, Lil Rod, Kalina Harper issued a statement. All of these things, it could just lead to things of mounting evidence where the lawyer, he's going to have to constantly deflect and reflect. You could see at one point that the AUSA was trying to say, some of the things that the defense would say about, well, I guess we would assume as Cassie, that they would say about the victim. Let's see if we can mitigate that and control that a little bit. And that's going to be important. Proving that these things were consensual. Proving that the parties involved was with the FO. So America, how do y'all think this is going to go? Is Diddy going down? Was Diddy right when he said there was no way to stop him? Will Diddy get stopped? But when they say that they want to subpoena the head of security, within these next days and weeks coming up, all of those things that they threw out there to the judge, they're going to begin to work on that. Some of these subpoenas, they're going to look at some of the statements that was issued by the other parties. That could either be a mounting evidence. We think that's why his lawyer could be rushing. Let's just go right now. Y'all, this situation is getting wilder and wilder. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. We're almost at 1,000, and this is amazing. All right, it's Astrostetics. Let's get it. Yeah.